A strange twist tonight in the lawsuit against suspended Sunrise Mayor John Lomello. A team of federal judges now agreeing to look into allegations of misconduct by federal agents assigned to that case. Well, tonight in a closer look, Eyewitness News Broward Bureau reporter Jim Reynolds says charges against Lomello could be tossed right out of court.
November 28th was a bad day for the Lomello political machine in Sunrise. The mayor of 15 years and some of his closest political allies were indicted by a federal grand jury on extortion charges. If Lomello was worried, he didn't show it.
I don't want to say anything about the government that would be bad, but in case those people out there in the great wonderland think they're not living in a police state, all they have to do is look around, because we sure are.
Lomello asked for a speedy trial, and that's tentatively scheduled for next month. But now there is a chance that the charges may be dropped and the case thrown out before the trial begins. The controversy centers on the way the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office handled its investigation of Lomello, Councilmember John Montgomery, and Zoning Board Chairman Robert O'Keefe.
Lomello and Montgomery are accused of, among other things, demanding that a friend of Lomello be paid a $30,000 consulting fee. In return, Lomello was to agree not to vote against a proposed nursing home to be built on this land in Sunrise by Manor Health Care Company of Maryland. O'Keefe is accused for his part in allegedly taking a $70,000 bribe from another health care company for official favors.
Some of the government's key witnesses were from a competing nursing home company. They testified here to the grand jury at the Fort Lauderdale Federal Courthouse. Defense lawyers claim that the witnesses believed that the Sunrise officials weren't trying to do anything wrong, but the prosecution threatened to indict the witnesses if they didn't point the finger at Sunrise officials.
The alleged victims of this scheme refused to state they were victims and repeatedly told the government that, in fact, the City of Sunrise officials treated them in a perfectly lawful and perfectly proper manner. These persons were advised that it is alleged that these persons were advised that the government did not believe this to be true, did not believe their testimony, and that they were now being considered for indictment. That had the natural effect on these witnesses of intimidating them and feeling that unless they changed their story to fit into the governmental allegations, that they too would be indicted.
Letters from the key witnesses seem to substantiate the defense's claim. In one of them, on May 17th of last year, to the chief prosecutor, Kevin March, William McKettrick, president of Richmond Health Care Company, writes that since I did not agree to say things that were not true against Sunrise officials, you now threaten me with indictment for mail fraud. The controversy has raised a lot of eyebrows here at the Fort Lauderdale Federal Courthouse. Judge Norman Rutger, who will try one of the cases, is reported to have said that there are matters that disturb him deeply about the way the government may have handled its investigation.
A highly unusual hearing has been scheduled for early next month by Judge Rutger and Judge James Payne, who will hear the other Sunrise cases. Now, in effect, they'll be investigating the federal investigators. And if it can be shown that the government was out of line, the charges against Lomello and his political allies could be dropped, and they could be walking back into Sunrise City Hall. At the Fort Lauderdale Federal Courthouse with a closer look, I'm Jim Reynolds, Channel 10 Eyewitness News.